Hey boys and girls, last day of VBS here, and I've got one more story to share with you in our Bible time. So, we've been talking a lot about Jesus this week, right? And how he turned water into wine, and then how he was able to feed so many people with just 2 fishes and 5 loaves, and then how he walked on water. Well, the best thing that Jesus ever did was to die on the cross for us. Do you remember that story? That's really an important story. And then 3 days later, Jesus rose from the grave. That's even better, right? Well, our story for today takes place right after Jesus had risen from the dead. So the disciples, Jesus' best friends, at this point they were a little confused. They were not really sure what was happening. And so they went back to what they had always been doing. They were fishermen before they met Jesus, and now they're going back out on their boats to catch some fish. All right, so the disciples are out on this boat, and they've got a big net, kind of like this one, and they're using it to fish. They cast it over the boat, and they try to pull in some fish. Well, guess what? No fish were biting, and they were getting super disappointed. And the night kept going, and they couldn't find any fish with their nets. Then they heard something strange. They heard something from the shore. It was a voice, and it said, "Hey, have you guys caught anything?" And the disciple says, "No." The voice called back and said, "Why don't you try the other side of the boat?" So the disciples did what that voice from the shore told them to do. They cast their net on the other side of the boat. And they were amazed because they got so many fish and they were so heavy and they could barely pull in the net to the boat because there were so many of these fish. Well, Peter, do you remember our good friend Peter? He was so excited because he knew exactly who that voice was on the shore. He knew it was Jesus. He was so excited that he was still fully clothed, and he jumped out into the water and he swam to the shore to meet Jesus. When Peter got to the shore, and the other disciples came too, Jesus was there. And he decided that he would make the disciples breakfast from the fish that they just caught. So Peter and the disciples are sitting around Jesus, and they're eating this wonderful breakfast with Jesus. How amazing would that be, boys and girls, to be eating breakfast with Jesus on a beach? Well, in the middle of the meal, with his mouth full, Peter's mouth that is, Jesus asked Peter, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter, still with his mouth full, said, "Yes, Lord, of course I love you." Jesus said, our memory verse for today, "Feed my lambs." So Peter goes back to eating, and Jesus asks him once again, "Peter, do you love me?" Peter this time is a little frustrated. He said, "Yes, Lord, I do love you." Then Jesus said our memory verse once again. Say it with me this time, boys and girls. "Feed my lambs." Well, Peter goes back to eating. And Jesus asks one more time, "Peter, do you love me?" At this point, Peter was pretty upset. He said, "Of course, Lord, of course I love you." Jesus said one more time, "Feed my lambs." Boys and girls, why do you think Jesus told Peter, "Feed my lambs"? We're all lambs, right? We're all Jesus' lambs. And Jesus is our shepherd. He provides for us. He guides us. He tends to us. When we're going off, he comes and he brings us back into the sheepfold. Well, if we're all sheep and Jesus is our shepherd, Jesus needs help. And that's why he told Peter, "Feed my lambs." He was giving Peter the responsibility to do the same thing that he does, to tend other people, to feed them, to bring them into the fold. Boys and girls, Jesus wants you and me to also feed his lambs. He wants us to take care of people, to feed them, and to bring them to love Jesus too. Boys and girls, there's a really cool way that you can also help to feed other people. Today, your parents received an email with a list of food and diaper and other baby formula needs that we want you to collect and to bring up here to St. Mark's Church. So, if you're with your parents at the grocery store, tell them to buy some extra food, to buy some baby formula and diapers, and to bring it to St. Mark's Church. By doing this, you can help feed other people in this really important time of need. We're taking the food down to St. Mary's Episcopal Church, which is our sister church downtown. And then the diapers and the baby formula, we're taking to the Community Health Outreach Center here in our neighborhood to help those people out. Boys and girls, Jesus loves you so much, and he wants you to help him out by feeding other people.